Hello, we are live. Wonderful. We are live now. Fantastic. So, we're going to be talking about the feminine today. And I just want you to know that there's a little bit of a delay on the live feed. So, whenever you get a chance, I want you to put your comments in the comment box, and as they come through, I will answer them. But again, there is a little bit of a delay. I want to say it's maybe like 3 to 5 second delay. So just let that be known. I'm going to give us like a few minutes while wait for a few of you guys to come to the live who said they wanted to join, and then we'll get started. Go ahead and get myself set up over here too, so I can see your comments, so I can see anything that you want to ask me. Okay. Perfect. Also, let me set my phone on Do Not Disturb, because that's always super annoying when you when you set it up and it's like everybody wants to call whenever you're on a live, or everybody wants to call when you're on, an important phone call. I'm sure a lot of you have felt that way too before. I'm so happy it's Friday. Oh my goodness. Yay, Friday. Friday's great. But one thing I will say is that, and this is, I think, the reason why I really wanted to teach everyone this stuff, is because once I started to really lean into my feminine nature, not just in dress, but in attitude, in understanding, in living, um, every day gets to be a Friday. Every day gets to be a Saturday. Every day is a Monday. Like every day is whatever day it needs to be. And I've intentionally set my life up that way, which, I'm very grateful to have that privilege. So, and I think a lot of it, because of understanding the feminine aspect of myself, which I'm going to teach you a lot about today, that's where I got the permission to lean into setting up my life in this fashion. Because I don't recommend entrepreneurship for everyone, but there are ways for you to get your time freedom back, even if you work a 9 to 5. So, okay. For some reason, it's like not even notifying me on Facebook yet that we're oh, there we go. Finally. Oh my goodness. On Facebook. Hi, Vaughn. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Finally. Oh now goodness. I just need to like mute myself. Give me a second. Like I don't need to hear myself talk twice. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. Yay, awesome. Hey, Vaughn. I'm so happy that you're here. Let's get a better view. Perfect. Okay. So let's talk about feminine energy. I'm curious, do you guys, I know you probably have heard it from me, but if you haven't heard about feminine energy, let me know. Let me know in the comments. And also, what do you know about the feminine? What have you heard? I feel like that's a great place to start. What I want from you today is I want you to just be here. The feminine doesn't really need to take notes. This is really going to be a conversation of remembrance. This is going to be a conversation of truly a transmission of understanding of the things that you already know exists within you that maybe you haven't been able to use or access in a very long time. And I want you to be able to do that here. And so today is really about that. Today is just about you receiving, and what is meant for you is meant for you. What isn't meant for you is not meant for you. Let it go, let it pass. You'll be surprised about what drops in later on, because the one thing I love about feminine energy is that she is surprising and she is radical, and you may hear something today that you had never heard before and it doesn't make sense now, but maybe in a week all of a sudden it'll click in. That's just how it works. And I'll explain a little bit as to why. So far, what do you know? What do you know about the feminine? What do you know about who she is and how she operates, or what it is? Even share with me in the comments if you get a chance. We're going to kind of go through, while I'm waiting for you guys to maybe chat, There are a couple, like the way that we're going to go through this is we're going to go through what is the feminine. We're going to go through the dark feminine and the light feminine, these two aspects of her, which honestly, the feminine's not dualistic, so it's a spectrum of her, we'll say. Um, how important it is to create healthy relationship with her, and how that healthy relationship is mirrored in your masculine counterpart, whether it's within or without. And then we're going to talk about the woundings of feminine energy and what it attracts. All right, perfect. Softer, more creative energy versus masculine structure leading. Yes, perfect, Francesca. Thank you for responding. Um, and if I'm looking over here, it's because I have my phone set up over here so I can see the comments. Because for some reason I can't see them on Facebook. So just bear with me. Anyway, yes. So that is all true. So let's talk a little. Let's just dive into what feminine energy is. Feminine energy is is the energy of the unknown. Let's call her like dark matter. You know, it's like the void before it's brought into the reality. It's the it's the intuition, it's the insight, it's the universal like primordial soup before something becomes like matter. And this is why feminine energy can be really difficult to explain. But as women, we have a greater access to it because we have wombs. And our wombs, regardless of whether or not you've used it to create a child, our wombs are that sacred void space. It's basically a physical example of what feminine energy is, you know? It's just a space of endless possibility of creation. So it's a portal, even. So the one thing that's really powerful about feminine energy is that it is connected so deeply to the divine, so deeply to source, the universe. And so when you have that part of you shut off, you may not be super connected to your intuition. You may not be super connected to your own creativity or to playfulness. And I'm curious, like, has that ever happened to you where you felt really disconnected from the divine, where you felt really disconnected from nature, even? Because that's when your feminine energy is like either wounded or you just have been maybe dismissing it for multiple reasons. And we'll kind of go into some of that today. Um, yeah. So, feminine energy is the receiving end. Today, I use this example in one of my sessions where feminine energy is like the antenna of a TV. You know, like the antenna just needs to be set on the right frequency to receive the wavelengths to for the TV, right? But you can't actually the waves are nothing until you press the button on the TV or on the remote, right? So the masculine energy is you pressing the button, you turning it on, it's powering it on, the on and off switch. And this is so like important to understand because like you can have the feminine without the masculine because it's just already in existence. But the masculine energy that resides in us and resides outside of us is what births, like actually brings things into form. It creates like a pathway to a physical form. Does this make sense so far? Okay. This concept can be kind of convoluted. So I want to make sure that I'm going at a pace that feels digestible. And please feel free to ask your questions as we go along. I'm here to answer them. I kind of wanted this to be more of a Q&A than anything. But I know that there's some concepts that we need to like process together first. Okay. When the feminine is healthy, she is surrendered, she is in flow, she is deeply connected to her intuition and connected to all things. She is, it's easy, it's light too. And I don't want this to be confused with the like light and dark feminine aspects. I'll explain that a little bit later, but there's a lightness to her, like this is just what it is. Um, it's like the core truth of who you are. It's your existence. The feminine, I like to two words I really like to use to connect with the feminine is being, like you just existing is you in your feminine. You don't have to do anything. You just are. You just exist. You already have everything you need right there. You just are. That is feminine energy. Another word is receiving. So it is the side of you that is receptive to taking in energy, taking in feedback, um, taking in the insights and the downloads. I don't know if you've ever had like a really beautiful download from Source, from God, but it's just like, whoa, where did that come from? I didn't do anything to receive that. And now I like have all this insight or have all this creativity and I just need to like do something with it. So that is being in feminine energy. Now, feeling soft is feminine because not because of vulnerability, but because it means that you trust your environment. So the feminine feels safe in her spaces. She feels safe in her body. She feels safe um, with her masculine. And this is why healthy feminine energy can be so potent because when you're resting in safety, like things just kind of flow with ease. The reason why a lot of us don't feel at ease or don't feel safe is because of trauma. And this is where the wounding aspects of the feminine come into being. So again, questions, thoughts, statements, let me know if there's anything that is coming to mind for you. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah. So, um, woundings. So say like in childhood, you felt unsafe for whatever reason. If you feel unsafe, you learn really quickly that you have to be the one to protect yourself, which is a very adaptive skill. Like it's very amazing that our brains can get on board with like, okay, this is an unsafe environment. I need to kick it into high gear. I need to be the one to protect myself because no one else is going to do it for me. So you go into masculine overdrive. And this is where your body feels like it's kind of always on edge because you're always looking for what you got to do next, what you got to do to survive, what you got to do to keep safe. And so when you're in that space, it's really hard to be super receptive um, to outside, well, not outside influences, but to like source. It's kind of like you're always kind of waiting for the bottom to drop so you can prepare, so you don't really see the other side of possibility, which is like the powerful side of possibility, the beautiful side of possibility. You may be so consumed whenever you've, been dealing with woundings around the feminine with like, what's going to go wrong? Who's going to mess this up for me? Like it can become a little bit of a victim mentality. It can become a martyr situation. I have to fall on the sword. I have to do it all alone. Um, Perfect. How about removing ourselves from anything that doesn't align with us anymore? Is this considered feminine behavior? So that is part, yes, yes, and. So, yes, you identifying what no longer aligns with you is the feminine. You actually removing yourself is your feminine initiating your masculine into inspired action to take charge and set boundaries. So that is more of a leading energy, and that's the masculine energy. But they work in tandem. Like I said, there's no real masculine without the feminine. And all of us, all humans have feminine energy. The masculine is just the doing energy. How do we put things into the world? How do we create? How do we drop what's from source, from the universe, and bring it down into the 3D? This is why it's interesting because I think our society really operates on the inverted. We operate from doing. We're like, let's do, and then we'll check in with our insight. Let's do, and then we'll figure out how to rest. It's like, no, it's actually supposed to be the complete opposite. We're supposed to get the downloads and receive them, digest them through rest and processing, and then find a way to put it out in the world in the most aligned way possible that feels the most congruent to our authentic nature. So when you're really tuned into your feminine, you start to understand who you are at a more authentic capacity because you're not consumed with having to do in order to prove your worth, with having to do in order to be productive. So, Yvonne, I hope that kind of answered your question. I know I like went a little bit further than that, but let me know if there's more to that answer that you'd like. So yes, so like the thing about wounded energy is that it attracts itself. So not only does it attract itself, so it may attract other wounded women. So like in other words, so if you have wounded feminine energy, you're kind of stuck in victim mentality. You feel really stuck. You don't feel like you can be playful anymore. You feel um, like just just the deepest core wound of the feminine is I am not enough. Like my existence is not enough. And with that kind of, um, honestly, like depressive sort of belief, you attract people who will remind you that that's true, and you'll attract other people in your life who also believe that that's true. So then it just becomes like this self fulfilling sort of experience where you're going around the drain trying to prove who's not good enough, who feels the least amount of good enough. Or you will, in turn, really, really rely, awesome, you will really, really rely on your masculine energy to fake confidence, to fake feeling good enough through productivity. And you will find that you are working, like you're wondering why you're so burned out. It's because you just don't think that what you're doing is ever enough. So you keep doing more and more and more and more, and you keep giving and giving and giving. And then it leads to burnout, and you're like, you just kind of want to throw in the towel of all of it. And a lot of us get to that place. This is not abnormal. Our society has not really helped us understand that we absolutely need both ends of the spectrum, because the truth is that it's like a coin. Feminine and masculine are the same. I was gonna say 50-cent piece. Who uses those? Nobody uses those. It's the same quarter, okay? Feminine and masculine energy are the same quarter. So, you can't use a quarter and not have both sides of it. They're both there. Same thing with giving and receiving. Every time you give, which is a masculine sort of energy, every time you give, you are receiving. You're receiving the joy of giving. You're receiving maybe a smile. You're receiving something. The receptivity of someone receiving what you're giving, right? And then every time you receive, you're also giving. Every time you receive, you're giving joy to the giver, you know? And so it's always it's so interesting because we think that they're separate, but they're not. And we're so used to using one side of the coin. We only like to use heads. And it's like, but tails is there too. Like, go ahead and use tails too. Super important. It's super important. So, wounded feminine energy attracts wounded masculine energy, and that's because the polarity wants to stay in balance. So what this looks like is somebody with wounded feminine energy, you don't really believe that you're good enough, so you kind of lean on giving and over giving, and then you attract a narcissist who has a lot of wounded masculine traits, which is why they're aggressive and they can be dominant, and they just, and then they have this wounded feminine where they just take, 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 take. They don't really know how to give in a way that's actually healthy. And so it's like the perfect little balance. It's like the perfect little marriage of energies. These two toxic sort of experiences where you have emotional, like wounded empathy and narcissism. It's like, and this is why the very beginning stages of my work was really heavily surrounded around narcissism and understanding narcissism, because the wounds in my family, my lineage, were the codependent, wounded empathy, wounded feminine, and this, it's not even hyper masculine. It's just this wounded masculine energy that like doesn't know how to doesn't know how to give in a healthy way. So when you are figuring out relationships and friendships, you want to pay attention to like, do I have any of these wounds, and who am I attracting? And if there's any signs, like I love relationships so much because when you actually understand that they are mirrors to you and to what's going on inside of you, so that way you can heal them. If you ever attract somebody who's like a taker, or somebody who you feel like has been taking advantage of you, there's an aspect of you that still hasn't really resonated with, wow, I actually am like, I deserve to be cared for too. I deserve to be supported too. And it's safe for me to receive, you know? And so you really need to work on the receivership and strengthening that muscle. And sometimes we go around and around the drain. Believe me, there are some things in my life I just feel like I'm just circling the drain on. We all have our lessons. We all have our karmic lessons that we need to figure out. But um, relationships are the most beautiful opening to discover what those lessons are, so that way you can heal them as quickly as possible. So, questions, questions, questions. Please ask your questions. How is this landing? What's this feeling like? Again, if you just arrived here, I don't want you really taking notes. I just want you to exist in this space. I want you to listen to this transmission. Right now is just really about, the one-on-one, just like understanding what is this energy and why are we talking so much about it. For me, my life really changed once I started to soften or surrender or lean back. I'm so used to, I'm such a driven person, I'm such a go-getter. Like, this is why entrepreneurship felt so um just felt so good to me, because I like to lead. I like to take control. I like to like move all the parts, and I also don't like to be told what to do. Let's be real. Like, I really don't like being told what to do. So understanding how to play with my feminine was really confronting in the beginning, because it meant that I needed to learn how to surrender. And if I couldn't surrender to my husband, I had to learn how to surrender to God first. And truthfully, that's really where I needed to start regardless, because if I could trust myself with the all knowing, all most beautiful power of the universe, then it might be a little easier for me to trust a human being, you know? And the feminine is all about trust. It's all about surrender. It's all about, let me receive and let me listen, let me observe, and then I can decide internally what pleases me, what feels yummy, what would delight me. And that's when I can inspire action through my masculine, be like, okay, that really would delight me. Like, let's go, let's do it, let's make it happen. What you'll notice is that in healthy relationships, so when your feminine is online, when it's really tuned in to yourself, when you're really tuned into it, you'll notice that you can make a request just to yourself, to the universe, to your partner, whomever, and it will be met. It will happen. Like, there are so many times, I kid you not, there's so many times I just say out loud, like, I would love flowers. Like, I can buy them myself, of course, but it would just be so nice to like get flowers, right? And this happened the other day. Like, I was like, oh, I bought myself some flowers because I went to Trader Joe's. And if you live on the island, like, Trader Joe's is really far. It's like it's like Disneyland to us. It's like, so it's far away and it's delightful. Anyway, so I went to Trader Joe's. I got my flowers, and then I kind of told myself, I was like, oh, like, I was like, I would like some more flowers. Like, it'd be nice to have some more flowers. And then the other day, my friend gave me flowers. She was like, thank you. I was like, thank you, universe. I recognize you. I see you. Like, you can place your order and just surrender, knowing that at some point it'll happen. It'll come around in divine timing. This is the feminine. And so understanding the feminine is to understand the creatrix of the void, that your words have power, that your desires actually are a signal to the universe. And when we don't, or when we're not connected to this part of ourselves, we feel powerless in this world. We feel like everything is happening to us, not for us. But like, your desires matter. But it's also important to understand that, like, your preferences matter, so your anxieties matter. If you're really anxious about something, you're signaling to the universe through your feminine energy, right? You're signaling to the universe that, like, this would make you anxious, like being in relationship would make you anxious, or having $1 million would make you anxious, like whatever it is. And so the universe is going to respond to that and not bring that around. So it's interesting how we have to be very mindful of how we use or understand our feminine energy and our feminine language. To me, she is outside of language. She's outside of time. Like there's no real words to describe her. I'm just doing the best that I can because she's like dark matter. She just exists. She just exists. There's no force that needs to happen. It just is. Okay. Questions, 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 you guys. I know you have some questions. Like this is a very interesting topic. Take some sips. Mm. All right. So let's talk about the dark femme and then the light femme. Light feminine is kind of what you see. I don't know if you followed that trend or it's like, you type in something core, right? Like cottage core or, vintage core or whatever. Anyway, it's like the pretty aesthetics. It's softness, it's the flowy fields, it's like the flowers blowing in the wind, it's like singing in the rain. Like it's just like the really soft, light, not airy fairy, it's grounded, but it's just like light and easy. I would love to know if you have any examples of experiencing this where you just felt so in flow, so in ease. It's dance. It's like what is it? It's just yeah, it's just fluidity. Um it's beauty just for the sake of beauty. It's gratitude for the sake of gratitude. It's just the most yummy, soft, light, surrendered, flowy feelings. Oh, I love this for you, Yvonne. I love knowing that I'm arriving at this place of receivership. Amen. Like, ugh, seriously, it feels so good to lean into it. When you meditate, yes, it's a great example. That's how I feel too when I meditate. It's just this light. It's just this ease. And when you can identify that feeling, you're like, oh, that's it. That is feminine energy. Okay, I understand a little bit more now. So that's the light side of it. Now let's talk about the dark side. We love the dark side. The dark side, who she's confronting. She is Mama Bear energy. She is like the dark goddess, like she just is that part of ourselves that and our psyche that is like radical. Like, I will no longer tolerate this bullshit and I'm going to fucking rage. And so the dark femme is rage, sacred rage, feminine rage, the type of rage that creates worlds, the types of rage that destroys worlds. It's like this really, really potent, thick, like dense energy, and you can feel it when you've been stagnant or stuck. Yes, yes, exactly. When you're stagnant and stuck and you're like, I will not tolerate this anymore. I will not live like this anymore. I am done with this, and it becomes this guttural sort of feeling that like goes up and out, and it will create again a spark, an initiation. It will initiate your masculine to move when things get so uncomfortable to the point where your dark feminine is like, we are not doing this bullshit anymore. We're done, 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 done. If you've ever been in a relationship and you could feel that point where you're like, what the hell have I been doing? Like, why would I ever be in this? And what? Bye, boy, bye, girl, bye, whatever. Like, you just are done. Um, and that is again a part of the initiation of your dark feminine to your masculine, your healthy masculine, if you can tune in and pay attention. So sometimes our dark feminine is speaking loudly to us and we don't even realize it. Like, we're just so done with the situation, we're done tolerating, we're done not setting boundaries, we're done with all this stuff. But because we are not strong enough in our masculine self, because we don't trust our masculine enough, we won't do anything about it. And then the rage just simmers and simmers and simmers. And typically what I've seen is that the universe will handle it. And you might get dragged. And you might hate it, but at the end of the day, it's always for your greatest and highest good, but you're going to hate every part of the dragging. Like you've been asleep and all of a sudden you wake up. Yes, that's exactly the feeling. It's like, the fuck. But the funny thing is that even with the lightness too, it feels the same. It's like how have I not noticed how much gratitude and joy and abundance surrounds me? Like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's so, when you're tuned in, it's so awakening. It is awakening. And so, right now, so they say, whoever they are, right? So they say that right now, the feminine is rising, which is why we're seeing a lot of um, conflict around certain structures, why we're seeing a lot of things starting to be questioned, because that feminine, she's not that happy with how things have been going. So it's definitely that sacred feminine rage that's kind of coming up and out. But at the end of the day, it's also the creatrix. It's the part of us that's like, we need to do something different, and we can't tolerate this anymore. And then when we fix those things, those structures will feel lighter, will feel more at ease, will feel more in flow. Right now, we just don't feel that way. Everybody feels really tense. And this is why understanding your feminine is so important and so impactful, because if you can understand it within you, then you can understand it whenever you're perceiving all the chaos that's happening around you. And you won't feel so pulled by it anymore. You won't feel so swayed by what you see in the media or what you hear other people talking about or whatever. You will just know that this is just the birthing pains. This is the birth of something new that's coming through, because the feminine is no longer tolerating whatever bullshit's been going on. Let's be real. Whatever bullshit's been going on. So, dark femme, light femme, do we understand the difference? Does it make sense? Does it feel I love, Yvonne, how you can recognize which space you're in. And you can, I toggle. Like, I'll be in the light, I'll feel really good, and then I'll like feel disconnected for a little bit, and then I'll get into my sacred rage, and I'll be like, what? Things gotta change. And then I like, then I go into action, and then whatever. So it's like you just, it's not static. So that's one thing about understanding the dark femme and the light femme is on the spectrum. It's not a static, they're not polar opposites. It's not this or that. It's not that you're dark and then light. It's that they exist all concurrently, but you have access to them at different times. So it's just a spectrum. Um, let's see. Okay, so let's talk about like finding a healthy like why this helps you create better life, a better quality of life. So when your feminine is when you're connected to your feminine, let's see, how do I want to say this? um so okay, let's talk about the masculine first, because that's actually really important in this equation. when you are when your feminine is wounded, a lot of times she can be very, very critical of your divine masculine, of your masculine energy. And so, how this translates is that you may get inspiration, but your feminine is wounded and she doesn't really trust that anybody's got her, that anybody supports her, that anybody cares, including yourself. So, she doesn't really trust you, the masculine aspect of you. And so, when you implement something, she's like, they're not going to care. What you're doing doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't even look good, and so then the perfectionism tendencies come up, or like it's never enough kind of comes up, or like, whatever those beliefs are, right? And so then what happens is, over time, you start to lose faith and lose trust in your ability to produce or to create the life that you want. And then now you wonder why you feel stuck, or you wonder why you feel unfulfilled, or you wonder why you may have settled in something that you knew wasn't really for you, but you didn't know how to get out of it, because your feminine energy was so like nitpicky about the way that you were moving, that you lost faith and trust in yourself. And so, how this also translates to the universe, to God, is that, God doesn't override our free will. So if we don't trust that God's got us, so we don't trust that the universe really wants to support us, really will deliver our desires if we just dare to state them and then get out of the way, we will like, yeah, you're never going to deliver it to me. You don't really care about me. Like, good luck. So this builds this distrust even for the universe, even for God. And God is the healthy aspects of both, the healthy feminine and the healthy masculine. The universe is just, it just exists, you know. There's no, it's neutral, it's not good or bad. God is all good, and God is the healthy divine masculine and the healthy divine feminine in form, you know. And so like if we can't trust the highest versions of these energetic experiences, then how the heck are we supposed to trust life on this planet? How are we supposed to trust ourselves? It's almost it's almost like it's just too, oh man. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my feed froze. Um, yeah, it's not gonna work. So we need to learn how to be in relationship with our healthy masculine. And sometimes, yep, I've been learning to tune that old stuff. No negativity is allowed to stay stuck. I love that. And truly, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because this is a part of the feminine that's so important. Like, the feminine is, again, you receiving emotions, you getting triggered by something, having an emotional experience, recognizing that you're having an emotional experience, and just letting it move through. Like, oh, I don't like that. Or, oh, that feels yucky. That feels bad. You know, but you let it move. You don't just like, oh, I can't feel that right now. I don't want to feel that. I don't care. I don't want to look at it. Because if you keep doing that, then you're stuffing it, you're abandoning yourself, you're not really processing, and then you don't know how to take inspired action because you're so dense and heavy with emotions that are stuck that you don't have that lightness. You don't have that like true connection. This is why trauma can really, again, disconnect us from the divine because it weighs us down so densely. Everything is a vibration, and the feminine operates on a specific vibration that is able to communicate with the universe. It's not like our feminine isn't there. It's not that she is there, she isn't around whenever we're experiencing trauma. It's that we don't understand how to use the language of her healthy divine self that will communicate with the universe to help support us to get out of it. And this is why it can be so difficult because we're relying so much on ourselves to work through certain problems, but we can't because our receptivity and the energy and the frequency that we're at is so low that we're not able to see solutions in that state so that we could take divine inspiration or divine action off of those positive solutions. Instead, we just do the same thing over and over and over again, which keeps us stuck in those spaces because it was the only thing that we learned to do when we were children, when we were going through the trauma in the first place. And this is why trauma healing is so important. This is why inner child healing is so important. There's so many layers to this. Um, but at the core of all of it is like understanding and coming back into your true authentic self, which is your feminine energy in balance with your masculine. And honest, like there's no way to have a healthy masculine without a healthy feminine. You can't just like, because a healthy masculine, it will present itself as like overworking, you know, super successful on paper, but deeply unfulfilled and unsatisfied, like not the best relationships, doesn't really feel intuitive or creative or playful. And so, like, that is not balance. And a healthy feminine, you can't be like, you can be healthy in your feminine, like be super intuitive and creative and whatever, but if you don't trust your masculine, then you're actually not a healthy feminine at all, you know? So you can't have one without the other. They're two sides of the same coin. Okay. Hopefully that all clicks, makes sense. Questions, feelings, thoughts, anything coming up for any of you right now as you are experiencing some of this transmission and just remembering the truth of who you are and the truth of this energy. What's so hard about feminine energy is understanding that it desires and needs rest to be potent. And when you have a really busy schedule, because everyone or because your life has been created around everyone needing you all the time. And so it's almost to the point where you don't even know how to take a break. You don't know how to like pull back because it's been set up so perfectly where you are the cornerstone and everybody goes to you for everything. Everybody needs you to do everything for them. Everyone needs you to be the strong one, When that is set up in your life, it can feel really hard to take a break. It can feel really hard to rest. It could feel unnatural. It could feel wrong. There's, mommy guilt. There's all sorts of things that we feel whenever we try to take a break or try to take a rest, or even just tell our family that, like, I just can't. I just can't do this. Um, and so, yeah, you need to learn that rest is essential for you to understand this aspect of you. All right, Francesca, does freeze happen when your feminine and masculine aren't balanced? Like where you're stuck and feel like you can't do anything? Absolutely. Yep, exactly. So any of the stress responses are, so fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Any of that stuff happens, all of that happens because of being out of balance. Now, specifically, the freeze is happening for you because stress response happens. Okay, let's get into the nervous system. Okay, the stress response happens because your nervous system is overloaded. And your nervous system is overloaded, there's not enough time. There hasn't been enough time for you to process and digest all of the stuff that you've been receiving. So this is why we may freeze. Like, I just can't be productive. I can't do anything. I don't really know what to do. I don't know where to go. It's because you're stuck in that state of unprocessed experiences. So the way to mitigate this is to rest. You have to rest, but it has to be intentional rest. It can't be like rest binging in front of the TV and just like zoning out. It can't be dissociation. Now that's what happens, right? It's really, a lot of us have been trained, especially through trauma, to dissociate. And dissociation allows us to not be in our bodies completely while bad things are happening, right? Around us. And so we just learn to dissociate every time there's like a massive stimulation and we're really overwhelmed and like we don't know what to do. So we just escape our body. The feminine doesn't want you to escape. She wants you to be grounded. She wants you to love your body. She wants you to talk to your body so that way it can move it into action. It is like this beautiful, like your body is they're all connected. They're all interconnected. You can't have one without the other. So, I mean, you can't have the feminine and the masculine without the body, but like, anyway. So yes, so you have to uh ground back in and take rest. And this rest could look like, um, so today I was thinking we could do some tapping. That's like one way to help support your nervous system. It's literally, if you're a verbal processor, verbal processing means that you need to talk about what's going on for you out loud in order for it to make sense. So I'm a verbal processor. I tell my husband is not, he is an internal processor. So he doesn't have to tell me what's going on for him emotionally for it to make sense for him to work through in his mind. I physically have to get it out of my body, whether it's to someone or on piece of paper, in order for it to make sense for me to be able to digest and process what's going on. And because of that, it's really important that like journaling is super powerful for us as a verbal processors, because not everyone has the capacity to hold all of our internal thoughts. And so what you probably want to do, Francesca, is to process any of the feelings that you've been having. Another way to process is actually just to sit with them. So if you've had any sort of triggers lately, or you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, sit with it. Allow the feeling to come up. And this looks like, so sitting with your eyes closed, taking a deep breath in through your nose, and breathing out. And just telling yourself, say the feeling that you have is like anxiety. Just be like, hi, anxiety. I love you. You're welcome here. You can come. It's safe for you to show up. And then using your breath to draw it up and out, and draw it up and out. And you just tell your body that it's safe for anxiety to be there. And you're going to feel it. You're going to feel the strength of that anxiety grow. And it's okay. It's going to pass. It's nothing to be alarmed about. It's the nature of it, because it's been stuffed. So you want to bring it up and draw it out. And this is, again, you tuning into your feminine aspect. The feminine is emotion. Emotions are energy in motion. feelings are the logical way for us to process what the emotions are. It's like it's feelings are masculine actually, because feelings are language. It's like this emotion is coming through me. I need to translate it into a word that makes sense, right? Sometimes we don't even know what the emotion is that's coming up if we're tuned into it. So you just allow it to come up. And just like, whatever this is, I just allow you to be here. I just allow you to be here. It's safe, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. Yes, 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 until it passes. And the more that you can do that, and I like to, one of my favorite examples, and one of these days I'm going to make a reel about it because it's such an important example. So I want you to think of your nervous system as like a cup, okay? And the cup is filled with tea. But if your nervous system, if you're experiencing a stress response, it's filled up here. So what happens if you put just one more drop or a couple more little pours of tea in here? It's going to overflow. And that's when the state of freeze, fawn, flight, or fight happens. That's when your nervous system is completely overflowing. So what happens, or what the best practice is, to pour out a little bit every day. Even if you don't feel anything negative or whatever, just journal. You'd be surprised what'll come up. Just sit with your feelings. You'd be surprised what'll come up. There's so many emotions that we have buried for the course of our entire life. You'd be surprised what would come up. And this is you actually getting more in tune and more connected to your feminine, because she's emotions. And what's so powerful about this too is that, like, the more that you can do this, the more that you can help, I want to say stave off, but like, because like honestly, sacred rage is important and it's radical and it's necessary, but sometimes it's like it's so intense that you don't really want to experience that all the time unless it's like really really necessary. So if you can kind of stave that off by just processing a little bit every day, because if you don't, you're eventually your sacred rage is going to be like, enough is a fucking enough, and you're going to blow up your life and blow up everything, and you're like, whatever, and you're like, what did I do? It'll all work out for good, but you'll still be like, what did I do? Why did I do that? And then you need to hire me, and like I'll have to help you clean it up and like all the things, and if we can help avoid that, that'd be great. Yes, exactly. This is so helpful. Thank you. A great reminder to journal and practice yoga again and stop ignoring intentional rest. Yes, it's so important, especially when, like when you're an entrepreneur, or like you just are really a highly driven person and you feel like everybody is expecting you to be or do certain things or amount to certain things. And you just feel like you always have to go, 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 go. And taking a rest feels so wrong. Like it feels bad. Well, I'm not finishing what I need to, what I started. Like, how's this in integrity and whatever? It's like it's the most integrity. It is the absolute necessary. Again, it's like giving and receiving are the same side of the same coin. You can't you can't do without rest. There'd be nothing to give. There'd be nothing to do. If everyone's always doing, everything would already be done. We need rest. We need rest. We need rest. We need rest. Um, okay. Any other thoughts or questions that have come up? And yes, definitely best to avoid that. Again, I love me some sacred rage. Sometimes you just kind of like I have a sacred, I have a divine feminine sacred rage playlist. I love her. My dark feminine playlist is what I like to call her. So I mean, if you guys should think about creating one of those. I have music is like my soul. It's really my language. And so I have playlists for every aspect of my connectedness to source and connectedness to this planet and like all the things. So I would encourage making a playlist. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to share if you guys want my playlist. I also really encourage you to make your own. But you could at least see mine and then see if that's like understand, well, what makes it dark feminine. It's just like, um, I know Taylor Swift has I'm not a big, I'm not a Swift fan at all really, but I know that she has a couple songs on there that would probably be considered like dark feminine, like she's always trying to, you know, say her boyfriend doesn't deserve her or whatever, whatever she thinks about. Um, but yeah, so that can be really helpful. Let's see. Let's see. I feel like there was something else I wanted to bring up. Oh, so like when this is in balance. Okay, so let's talk about this in relationship. So the more that we are connected to our feminine, the more we, especially if it's healthy, and we are doing our best to trust our own masculine, and we're doing our best to trust, we just trust ourselves. We're loving the flow of life, even if it can be sticky sometimes. We're just like, we're observant and we're loving the flow of life. We will notice this being mirrored again in our partnerships. So the areas that we still need, and it's like, y'all, I'll be honest, like, I think I'm healed, and then something will happen. I'll be like, well, damn, I guess I got a little bit more things to do, you know? And it's going to be like that because I don't think any of us are healed until we're dead. Let's be real, until we transition to the next, whatever's next in this form. But you will notice that the softer you are, the more I've always noted, like, the softer I am, the more Eric wants to take care of me. When I was dating, the softer I was, or like the more playful I was, the more men were obsessed with me. So it is this really interesting polarity there. If you want to attract the equal and opposite experience, then play into that for yourself. So this is how we use the feminine to support a balanced relationship or a balanced life. When I'm being really masculine, I can see my husband kind of shut down, and he has to go into his feminine. And when it's necessary, because what I'm doing requires my creative juices and I just need him to kind of follow along, it's great. When it becomes wounded, because I'm in my wounded masculine, just doing and not taking a break and not setting back and not listening or being intentional, then I notice he'll go into his wounded feminine and kind of like become a martyr and just like not show up in a very, obviously in a strong way. And then it makes me more resentful because I'm like, why aren't you? And then I start nitpicking, and it's because I am overly masculine. Does that make sense? So like, you have to always judge. You can judge where you're going wrong by your interactions. You can tell where there's maybe even say you meet a friend who you both are like alpha females or whatever, and it's almost like a competition. If one of you doesn't soften, that relationship is just not going to last. It's just not going to stand its ground. Like y'all know me, I'm a very strong woman, but some of my friendships, I like, you'd be surprised, I just kind of kid back, and it's great in those relationships because it's like they really want to they like, I'll do, girl, take care, take the lead, make the reservations, do the thing, like whatever, I'll just show up. I don't really care. I don't need to always be the one in control. But that took a lot of patience on my part. It took a lot of practice. And the only way that I even started to notice it was when in my relationship, um, even before Eric, my relationships, I would notice how they weren't, they didn't feel balanced. And I wondered why I was like attracting, like, narcissists all the time, or attracting like, weak men. It's because I was a little too strong. Or I was like, my empathy was showing too hard, whatever. And so like, you just adjust. So this is why, if you understand the dynamics between masculine and feminine, if you understand what a healthy feminine looks like or is supposed to look like, then you can use it to balance your relationships. And that's why it can make a more fulfilling life. So I love at first playing this out with God, with the universe. So the more I trust and fall back into surrender and playfulness, the more I tend to receive. And this is because, to me, God is a sky daddy. He is a sky zaddy, whatever. The universe like wants to deliver. Like, it's just responding to you. It's the action behind your intention, right? So like, the more that you can just get out, you can set your intention and get out of the way, the more you start to see these things, these synchronicities, all this stuff kind of showing up in your life. And you're like, what? Wow, I just thought that and that showed up. Or I just said I wanted this thing and now I'm experiencing this thing. Or, I put it on my vision board and I kind of got out of the way and didn't think about it. And then now I'm actually living this life right now. Whoa, that's crazy. It's crazy. But it's not crazy. It's actually just, it's universal law. And that's the law of attraction. There's also the law of assumption. If you assume that something's going to happen, then it will. There's so many different universal laws that we can play around with that require our understanding of surrender. And surrender is all, and receivership, and all of that is tied directly to the feminine energy. Okay, so we did a lot of talking. How do we feel? For those of you who are still here, hopefully you feel good. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully all the things. I figured we could end today with a little bit of tapping. Tapping on really just like getting really connected to our feminine energy, and just like learning to love her and learning to play and learning to soften, feel safe doing all of those things. Okay, so if you are available for tapping, let's go and do it. So if you've never done it before, all you have to do is just follow along and repeat after me. So follow along with what I'm doing and then repeat after me. I'll set that down a little bit. Okay. And we'll begin. Even though I am struggling to really understand the feminine energy in practice, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though the feminine energy feels kind of foreign to me, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have no idea where to start, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. We're going to start right here with the eyebrows. I am still trying to figure out this whole feminine energy thing. Side eye. It seems cool, but I don't really fully understand it. Under the eye? I mean, I understand it, but I don't. Under the nose? Like, it makes sense logically, but in practice, I just don't know how to get there. Under the chin or on the chin? And I'm just, I'm trying to receive what I can from this. Chest. But I do give myself permission to shift this now. Under the arm. I give myself permission to let whatever needs to stick with me, stick with me. Top of your head. Because the feminine energy feels like something I already understand and already know. I just haven't found a way to put into practice yet. I just haven't really quite figured out how to lean into surrender. But I do want it to feel safe surrendering. It would feel so good to not have to do everything alone all the time. Just at that thought, my nervous system settles a bit. It would feel really nice to not have to take control all the time or be the responsible one all the time. And at that thought, my nervous system softens. I think I'm going to learn to play with my feminine. I think I'm going to use my feminine to help me get unstuck. I think I'm going to trust that rest is actually really essential to my well being. And not dissociation, but like yummy rest, intentional rest. And I think I'm going to try that. That would feel really good. To play and rest and receive. Wow. What a concept. And I'm going to try that now. In body, mind, and spirit. Put your hand down, take a deep breath in through your nose, and release. Let me know how that felt. I feel like I got my red lipstick on my chin. Let me know how that felt. If you're able to drop in and just feel a little bit more grounded in this knowledge that we were learning today, just to give yourself a little peace, a little bit of compassion and grace for allowing it to show up and come out the way that it needs to. I'm so happy that felt so relaxing. That's exactly what it's meant to do. And tapping is such a great way, again, to help support your nervous system. And you can find tons of YouTube videos about EFT. So just type in EFT in YouTube, and you can find something for anything. One of my favorite practitioners, his name is Brad Yates. In fact, I'll just type that in there. I'll type it in the thing. Yates. EFT tapping, and you can find any video, like he has them for everything. It's awesome. So I know I did an hour and a half for today, but I think this feels really good. Kind of stopping here. Remember, you guys have access to the replay if you want to watch it or watch it again. Also, please feel free to ask your questions as they pop up. That's what this community is all about. I want to make sure that you feel really good about understanding why we're doing Feminine Riches. Like, rich femme means we just like are creating our life, and we create a life of wealth, and we create a life of like just deep knowing on a path of our own alignment, our own intuition. We're completely being downloaded by source. And that's why I love this group. And it's also the reason why I have a 90-day program called the Feminine Reset to help support you in helping your feminine energy come back online, to help activate it, to help dismantle some of the woundings and all of the things that have been kind of keeping you stuck. And so that way you start from a clean slate where there is more balance, and then you start attracting things that you really want, opportunities, the relationships, the community, everything that you deserve to have as a rich femme. So I'm just so grateful for you here. And if you have any questions about the program, if you have any questions about other things you want to know about EFT or about the feminine energy, just let me know. And yeah, have a great and wonderful Friday, and I'll see you guys next time.